Hello, my name is James Luxton. I'm Operations Team Lead at ShelterBox.
Thank you, Luxton. Can you tell us what it's like out there?
What the team and I are finding is that it's incredibly arid, as you would imagine. Most of the soil now is just turning into dust. It's been over 18 months since the last significant rain. And so in the west, the crops are dying. In the east, large scale numbers of the livestock have died as well, and that's leading to mass displacement of the people, particularly the nomads who rely upon those livestock for their livelihoods. And we're seeing movement all across the countries, but particularly from the rural areas towards the urban areas.
Thank you. Can you tell us about some of the people you've met?
So ShelterBox has been here on an information gathering mission this week to look at the response that we can do to assist these people. In that, we've met with the government, we've met with the other humanitarian agencies who are here, and also some of the important local community leaders and other civil leaders and clan leaders. What they're telling us is that the families are actually being torn apart by this, because a lot of the nomadic families, they move their animals to wherever there is grazing, and that means a number of months ago the men and the older boys of the families left with their livestock to go and find grazing. A lot of that livestock is now dying and they're being left with nothing. And then actually the people they've left behind, the women, the children, are also being displaced because times are becoming so desperate. So it's a really complicated picture, and there's families being separated. It's very difficult.
Can you tell us what role ShelterBox is playing?
So ShelterBox specialises in emergency shelter. That means we're looking at what the shelter need is for these people who've been displaced. Many of them have lost everything, or they've had to walk with only what they can carry, which is obviously very little. That means during the daytime now they're exposed to the incredibly hot, harsh sun. At night temperatures drop. This is a desert, so temperatures actually drop quite significantly. So we're looking at what shelter and other items such as blankets, such as water filters, and mosquito nets, other items they need so they can be safely sheltered in the sun. Also, quite soon we're anticipating the goo rains, the spring rains, will begin. They're probably going to be too light to resolve the drought issue. However, they are going to soak everybody who doesn't have sufficient shelter. That, combined with the low nighttime temperatures, could be a significant health threat.
Thank you. Could you tell us if the ShelterBox role could change? Can you see that changing in the future?
Right now we're looking at least 40,000 families displaced. The number's probably much higher. This is just the number we actually know about. For a small organisation like ShelterBox, which is 100% funded by the public, obviously we're not of a scale to be able to meet that need, and very few others here are even looking at the shelter aspect. So right now what we're doing is we're focusing exactly on who needs that most. We're identifying those beneficiaries who are the most vulnerable, and that might mean they're elderly, they've got a number of young children, that they've got someone disabled within the family. Those who are unable to help themselves, those are the people we're focusing on right now. Once that's been addressed, we will look outside of that.
Thank you. Do you feel that the world is aware of the situation in Somaliland?
I don't feel the world is aware of the situation right here in Somaliland. In the West, as in many other countries, I think we've been very slow to take notice of the creeping drought that's been occurring all across the Horn of Africa. And then when you add to that the severe drought that's happening here, particularly in Somaliland, we're starting to hear about it on the news, we're starting to be aware of it through our media, but the governmental and I would say the wider NGO response has been very slow to this stage.
Thank you. Are you hopeful about the situation, or do you fear for the future?
I fear for the future in this case. As I mentioned, the goo rains are supposed to start in a couple of weeks' time. They're the main spring rains that are the lifeblood of this country. However, what the weathermen are predicting is either going to be much lighter than normal or perhaps not even happen at all. In that case, we're going to be into full-blown famine in Somaliland, and trying to work within that, looking at the food, the water, the shelter component of it alone is absolutely enormous. And already the government and the humanitarian organisations here are at breaking point, and yet I can see there's much further to go. It's going to get much worse before it gets better. So unfortunately, in this case, I'm afraid no, there's very little hope right now.
James Luxton, thank you very much.
Thank you.